Hey, everybody. Welcome to week 9 of our survivor picks. I know week 8 was tough for a lot of people, and myself included, with the Bengals losing to the Jets. They were up 11 points with 4 minutes left in the game, had a 99% chance to win, and they somehow found a way to let the Jets come back and beat them. Killer. I was absolutely stunned on Sunday. I'm sure a lot of you guys were too. But congrats to those who are still in their survivor leagues, and I'll help you out and keep you surviving and advancing throughout the rest of the season. So let's take a look what we got in week 9. A lot of good games as always. Took the 7 most favorite teams and analyzed those. Bills, Colts, Cowboys, Dolphins, Steelers, Rams, and Ravens that we're looking at. As always, taking a look at the spread, money line, percent chance to win, whether there's teams at home or not, and whether they're playing a divisional opponent here. We're sticking forward. We got some great feedback, taking a look at the schedule preview, especially later in the video, and analyzing where we think we'd be taking some of these teams later on in the season if we didn't this week. And like I said, we'll get in that later in the video, but we'll start as we always do and take a look at what teams we want to avoid this week. When I want to talk about first, the Rams. They're -6. They're at home against the Titans, who have been just on a tear lately, as the Rams have too. But these are two really good opponents. -6, I was a little surprised by that line. I know the Rams are a really good football team, but the Titans are playing some of the best football in the NFL right now, and they just beat an overtime thriller against the Colts. They probably shouldn't have let the Colts really compete with them as much as they did. Nevertheless, they came out of there with a win. There's so many better games for the Rams to pick. Again, if you haven't picked them yet this season, it means you're probably holding them for later in the year. Keep them in your back pocket against a lot worse teams than the division leading Titans. So you're never going to want to pick a survivor pick against a team that's already first in the division, no matter how good the Rams are or any other team. So this for me is a no-brainer to not pick them, just because of the offensive talent that the Titans have, and the ability for them to put up so many points in a given game. So not taking the Rams this week. I'm also not taking the Ravens, who are -6. They got the Vikings, who just lost on Monday night against the Cowboys, who threw their backup quarterback out there without Dak. Even so, the Vikings are a team that has a lot of firepower in offense with Cook, Thielen, and Jefferson, maybe the best trio of offensive weapons in the league. Sometimes they don't put together, like tonight on Monday, as losing to the Cowboys. It doesn't always work out for them, but the potential and the firepower is there. And so I like trying to avoid that. Ravens are kind of a bye, which is great for them, but that passing defense, with how decimated their cornerbacks and secondary has been, leaves them really vulnerable to a strong Vikings passing attack. Because there are better games I like this week, because I think the Vikings are a competent football team, I'm avoiding the Ravens as well. Best pick this week, as it always is the team at the top of the list, favored by the most points. It's the Buffalo Bills. This is the only team that's on the road, coincidentally, and the Bengals are on the road against the Jets. So I think being on the road is definitely a little bit scarier. That being said, they're playing the Jaguars, who look terrible, who got destroyed by the Seahawks, who threw at their backup quarterback. Jaguars look like the worst football team in all the NFL right now, and it's not even all that close, despite how bad the Lions look too. Actually, I take that back. The Lions are competing with them for the worst team in the league, but these guys are terrible. The Bills, even when they play bad football games like they did against the Dolphins, they still find a way to win by double digits. They got MVP candidate Josh Allen. He's playing lights out all year long. That defense is incredible. Trevor Lawrence is really going to struggle against this defensive unit. If you still had the Bills, it might be time to think about taking them. But if you're looking for to keep the Bills in your back pocket later in the season, they got a lot of good games in their schedule still, so they're definitely better value picks this week. But if you want to have the sure thing, it's the Bills this week. There were 2 really good value picks this week, in my opinion. One of them's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're at home playing the Bears. The Bears just can't really seem to get too much going on offense. Justin Fields starting to get some footing in that new system, but the offensive play calling with the Bears has been terrible all year. No matter if it's Matt Nagy, their head coach, calling plays, or anyone else, it's not been great. Steelers pulled off a win against the Browns. They didn't look incredibly great against them, but their defense, the staple of that franchise throughout history, is always a stepping up for them. And I think that defense is going to give Chicago and that really poor O-line a hard time. Steelers front seven, especially on defense, gets to the quarterback unlike any other team. I think the Bears are really going to struggle with the run game and protecting Justin Fields in the pass game, just for how bad that O-line versus D-line mismatch matchup is going to be in this game on Monday night too. That Heinz Field is going to be rocking on Monday Night Football. Going to be a really hostile environment for a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields, who's going to be running for his life all game against this stacked pass rushing defense of the Steelers. And also, you're not really picking the Steelers many other times in this year. They're not a dominant football team by any means, but you're getting them a favorable matchup. They're not going to be favored by 6.5 points many times this year. So I think it's a good pick to think about. The other one, another team you're not going to pick that often this year is the Dolphins. They're -7 at home, playing the Texans. I like this one slightly less. For some reason, it's because I've seen some potential somehow out of the Texans, like kind of show up for like 3/4 out of a game sometimes. The Dolphins certainly aren't a great football team. Definitely in the downward trend and not living up to the expectations that I thought they would have this year, especially on the defensive side of the football. But you're not going to get the Dolphins at -7 often either. The Texans really don't seem like they can compete with anyone right now, so that might be another pick you want to consider. Tua, I would like to see him get a little bit more comfortable in that offense and really start to sling the ball a little bit better. They're not really putting up enough points that the Dolphins aren't. For my liking where they're at in this year. I get they played some tough defenses recently, but they haven't looked great, but you're not going to get them at -7 very often. And it seems like any team that's playing the Texans is going to win no matter what. So this might be one to consider as well if you're not taking the Bills or the Steelers this week. Colts and Cowboys are also really good picks, I think. You got the Colts who are playing the Jets at home. I don't care that the Jets are coming off a win. They pulled that one out of thin air. They had such a slim chance, a 1% chance to win that game. I'm not reading that much into it. The Colts lost a heartbreaker against Tennessee, but they are the best team in football with a losing record. These guys really are a solid football team and does what the Colts do. They run the ball, rely on the run game, their strong goal line, and play great defense and have good coaching. That's what they're going to do. I'm very confident the Colts will beat the Jets this week. So that's not a bad pick either. There's a lot of games on the Colts schedule you could be picking later in the year. The Cowboys as well. Got to keep an eye on Dak Prescott. He was a game time scratch on Monday night, so keep an eye if he's going to be playing next week on Sunday. I'm sure he will be, and if he is, then I like the situation with the Cowboys too. When we look at these schedules, what I really like with Pittsburgh especially, and the Dolphins too, you haven't picked him really that much this year. You haven't been thinking about picking him at all. There's only one game this year besides the Bears game that I like for them, and that's against Detroit. So if you're not going to take Pittsburgh this week, next week in week 10 against Detroit at home is your next best bet. But otherwise, you got to be taking Pittsburgh one of these 2 weeks if you're playing the strategy game. And then Miami, they're playing the Jets twice. I like those matchups in both games, especially when they're at home. But with the way that Miami's been playing and maybe even the way the Jets have been playing, you don't know at that point if you're going to want to pick that game. So I think I'd like to go with Pittsburgh here, but if you're really playing the strategy, you can go Miami this week, Pittsburgh next week against Detroit, get 2 teams that you really wouldn't otherwise be picking in the season, off your pick list, and maybe keep going in the Survivor League with a few extra wins. LA, interesting enough with how good they are. They don't have a ton of games left that I love. Besides Jacksonville, they're at home, they're going to kill them. Probably even Minnesota. Even in Minnesota, but for how good the Rams are, I don't love a ton of games remaining on their schedule for Survivor. Colts in that really weak AFC South, they're going to get a lot of opportunities to use them. And then Dallas too, not a ton of games. I probably should have highlighted the Washington football team too when they're playing them at home. You got a few more games out of Dallas. I wouldn't necessarily pick them here, especially given Dak Prescott's health concerns. Even if he is playing, there's going to be a question of how healthy he really is. So maybe that's something you definitely want to monitor Dak Prescott's progression in practice and his healthiness going in this game. The Buffalo Bills, they were one of the best teams of football, and they have a pretty easy schedule here too for the rest of the year. A lot of games, especially a lot of good games at home for them, which is such a home field advantage in Buffalo for them that you really have no worries if you're not taking this week. You got plenty of times the rest of the season you're going to want to take them. And then Baltimore, they're playing Miami, who I don't think is that great of a football team. It's just they're playing Houston this week. And then they're at Chicago. I have no doubt they beat the Bears in week 11. So I think that's probably a good pick too. But other than that, don't love a lot of games in the remainder of the Ravens season. So that's another team you're probably going to want to take within the next few weeks. Just to recap, yeah, here's Miami. Like I said, Jets, later in the year. Otherwise, probably take them this week, or else if you don't think they have the capabilities to beat the Jets, or you're not comfortable with that. And then Pittsburgh too. This week or next week, playing some really weak NFC North opponents at home. You got to love that. I really like the factor of them playing on Monday night with, Ben Roethlisberger, been there, done that. Justin Fields has not. Very loud and hostile environment there in Pittsburgh, one of the best fan bases in all of football. I think that gives them a real advantage at home too. So one of these two teams, Miami, Pittsburgh, leave it up to your discretion. Very similar numbers here, both about a 76% chance to win at home. Games you normally wouldn't pick. You can go with the Bills, Colts, or Cowboys here, and they'd probably be fine too. But a lot of games that I circle on the Cowboys and Colts and Bills schedules later in the year to pick. So if you're looking still to keep these guys in your back pocket, I'd go with the Dolphins or the Steelers. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you like and subscribe as well so you can keep getting this content week in and week out. Let me know in the comments section what you think of this video. Obviously, I'm not right every time, so I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on what you're thinking. Let me know if you like my picks or if you're going with something different for yourself. Either way, love interacting with you guys in the comment section. So please let me know what you think below. Good luck in week 9. Let's turn the ship around and get a win this week.